What began as an ordinary downpour quickly escalated into one of the most devastating natural disasters central China has endured in recent memory. In the heart of Hubei province, particularly in Xiangfang County, the skies unleashed a fury that nature itself could not contain. At first, it was only a light drizzle moistening rooftops and dampening the earth. But within a single night, chaos unfolded. Rivers turned violent, drainage systems collapsed under record rainfall, and entire neighborhoods began to sink into a sea of water. In just a few short hours, more rain fell than what usually comes in an entire month. Hillside villages and low-lying towns were swallowed completely. From above, vast stretches of Hubei appeared like an inland sea, with only treetops and rooftops breaking the endless expanse of brown floodwater. Roads vanished, markets were wiped out, entire communities dissolved into the flood. The flash floods left behind massive scars. Tens of thousands were forced to abandon their homes, many fleeing in the dead of night with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Houses collapsed. Vehicles were swept away like paper boats. Streets turned into raging rivers, tearing apart everything in their path. Residents stood helpless as walls of water thundered through once familiar streets. Mothers clutched their children. The elderly were carried on the shoulders of neighbors. Those who could not escape in time were trapped in the rising waters, desperately scrambling for higher ground. Inside schools, classrooms filled with water within minutes. Students were evacuated as their books and desks floated out of the windows. Public transportation collapsed. Emergency sirens echoed across the rain-soaked skies, leaving no room for preparation, only survival. In rural and remote areas, the tragedy was even harsher. Many communities had no weather alerts, no flood barriers, and no professional rescue services. For them, a flood of this scale was unprecedented. Rivers already swollen from weeks of rain exploded over their banks with destructive force. Dikes crumbled, levees gave way, markets, farms, and entire housing estates vanished within minutes. Crops were destroyed, livestock were lost. Amid this chaos, the human toll mounted. Some lives were swept away. Others were buried beneath collapsed buildings. Dozens remain missing. Rescue teams battled both the storm and destroyed infrastructure. Boats, helicopters, and even drones were deployed to search for survivors. Some were pulled to safety from second stories of flooded homes. Each life saved was a miracle. Each life lost was a heartbreak. This disaster did not strike in isolation. Just days earlier, other provinces such as Guizhou and Hunan suffered similar calamities. Entire counties were ordered to evacuate. Rivers surged to record highs not seen in decades. In some places, whole villages disappeared overnight. The repetition of these catastrophes has created a grim rhythm across southern China. Relentless rain, overwhelmed defenses, and the painful struggle to rebuild from ruin. Experts unanimously point to climate change as the deeper cause. As the Earth warms, the hydrological cycle grows more intense. The atmosphere holds more moisture, producing heavier and longer rainfall. Mountainous and rural regions like Hubei are especially vulnerable. Steep terrain already prone to erosion becomes deadly when saturated. Landslides are not just possible, they are inevitable. But this disaster is also a warning. It exposes vulnerabilities not just in rural areas, but in cities once thought prepared. It reveals gaps in forecasting, in emergency planning, and in resilience against back-to-back climate events. While infrastructure investments have been made, they have not kept pace with the escalating threats of extreme weather. What is needed now is not just recovery, but reinvention. Experts call for smarter water management, real-time flood mapping, and satellite-based early warning systems. Urban planning must factor in worst-case climate scenarios. Dams, drainage systems, and disaster drills must all be modernized for a hotter, wetter future. China has long battled the power of rivers like the Yangtze, but climate change has magnified both the scale and speed of disasters. What once occurred once in decades now happens within a season. There is no time left to wait. These are not just local tragedies, but global signals. The cost of inaction is no longer theoretical. It is measured in broken families, collapsed schools, ruined harvests, and grieving mothers. For the people of Hubei, the road ahead is daunting. They have lost not just houses, but heirlooms, memories, and dreams. Schools must be rebuilt. Fields must be replanted. Minds must heal. Yet in the midst of grief, there remains something unbreakable, the spirit to carry on. Even as the floodwaters began to recede, new threats emerged. Waterlogged hillsides, weakened by days of relentless rain, began to collapse. Landslides have already struck neighboring provinces, killing residents and sweeping away precarious hillside homes. Hubei, with its rugged mountainous terrain, is now on red alert for geological disasters, mudslides, rockfalls, and ground collapses. These are the hidden dangers that follow flooding. Infrastructure damage has also pushed the region beyond its limits. Power stations were submerged, knocking grids offline. Hospitals struggled as water invaded their generators. Communications failed. Roads disintegrated. Bridges collapsed, severing lifelines for relief. Some towns went without electricity for days. Entire villages were cut off, left without medicine or clean water. Factories shuttered. Food supplies ran short, and fuel lines strained. Dark clouds still hang on the horizon, with new storms forecast in the coming weeks. Authorities remain on high alert. Drainage channels are being cleared. Rescue forces are on standby. Communities are stockpiling essentials. The next flood may come sooner than anyone dares admit. But one truth is clear: the time for action is not tomorrow. It is now. The waters may recede, but the lessons must remain. Stay alert, stay safe, and stand together. Step by step, hand in hand, toward higher ground. If you found this news report helpful, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Turning on the notification bell will ensure you never miss clear, calm, and accurate weather updates. Some images shown may be illustrative and not fully reflect actual events described. Stay informed and stay safe. On the morning of September 10, 2025, Beijing faced another severe challenge as heavy rainfall overwhelmed low-lying districts and river channels across the metropolitan area. Streets that are usually bustling with commuters and cyclists transformed into fast-flowing waterways, while communities on the outskirts of the city confronted rapidly rising water levels and disrupted services. This report brings together first-hand observations, official briefings, and accounts from residents and emergency responders to provide a comprehensive overview of the unfolding situation, the immediate impacts, emergency response efforts, and priorities for recovery and resilience. By midday, several key transport routes experienced significant delays. Underpasses and main roads were submerged. Public transit operated at reduced capacity, and residential towers and commercial centers faced localized power outages. Markets and neighborhood shops suffered water infiltration and damaged stock, causing immediate losses for many small business owners. Hospitals activated contingency plans to manage water-related injuries and a surge in emergency visits. Amid the disruption, residents demonstrated remarkable solidarity, assisting elderly neighbors to higher floors, forming human chains to pull stranded individuals to safety, and sharing food, clean water, and dry clothing with displaced families. Local volunteers and community committees coordinated rapid checks on vulnerable households, while municipal rescue teams prioritized the most affected areas. Emergency units were deployed throughout the morning and afternoon, focusing on rescue, evacuation, and the protection of critical infrastructure. Schools and community centers were opened as temporary shelters, while engineering teams were directed to clear blocked drains and deploy pumps at low points. Officials repeatedly urged the public to avoid non-essential travel, follow evacuation notices, and report urgent needs to relief hotlines. The flooding exposed long-standing weaknesses in the urban drainage system, as well as the strain on reservoirs and river embankments when heavy rainfall coincides with high upstream flows. In densely urbanized areas, contaminated runoff raised public health concerns. Authorities advised residents to boil drinking water and avoid contact with floodwaters wherever possible to prevent waterborne diseases and pollution. Short-term economic impacts will hit daily wage workers and small businesses the hardest, with supply chain interruptions and property damage causing immediate income loss. In the coming weeks, inspections, insurance assessments, and repair work will determine the full extent of disruption to commerce and livelihoods. Health teams emphasized sanitation, vector control, and mental health support in temporary shelters, while providing guidance on wound care and infection prevention. Hospitals kept emergency wards on alert, while outreach workers monitored the needs of displaced households and coordinated the distribution of medicine and food. City planners and emergency authorities face the dual task of accelerating recovery while strengthening long-term resilience. This includes increasing drainage capacity, investing in nature-based flood mitigation measures, improving early warning systems, and reinforcing building-level safeguards. The events of September 10, 2025, underscore the value of community preparedness, rapid municipal coordination, and sustained investment in infrastructure to reduce vulnerability to future extreme events. If you are in an affected area, follow official guidance, register at local relief centers if you need assistance, and check on neighbors, especially the elderly and those with limited mobility. If you are watching from outside the region, consider supporting reputable relief organizations assisting affected families. Thank you for watching. If this report was helpful, please like and share to raise awareness and join us in supporting recovery and resilience efforts across the region. Stay safe. We will continue to follow recovery operations and provide updates as new information becomes available.
Nature doesn't send us warnings, but we can. Floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and storms are striking harder and faster than ever before. By subscribing, you are not just watching, you are joining a movement to stay alert, stay informed, and helps others to do the same. Hit the subscribe now because the next disaster won't wait, and neither should you. Be ready and be aware.